Welcome. We are very happy to have you today with us for this new webinar on how to do business in the Los Angeles area. I am Alain Charbonnier, and I'm the co-founder of the Belgian Business Club here in LA. Just as a reminder, our mission is to help Belgian entrepreneurs to connect to the right professional in the area, to stimulate business, and enable networking in Southern California in link with Belgium, obviously. Our two topics for today, that's LA County as your next investment, an introduction on what is offered to foreign investors and entrepreneurs, as well as a discussion on the late Belgian ranking in the latest foreign direct investment reports that is very interesting. Then the kind of help our regions can bring to entrepreneurs, investors, and CEOs, as well as a few success stories, because that's always very interesting to see how that happened. A point on how to network with us, the Belgian Business Club as a source of information, a place for networking and links with other communities, how to participate, bring your topics, be a panelist, engage in the community. And we'll have also live Q&A sessions. But first, let me present you today's guests. We are very privileged to have four speakers. First, Stephen CHEUNG, who is Chief Operating Officer of the Los Angeles Economic Development Corporation and President of the World Trade Center in Los Angeles. Stephen leads investment attraction to LA County on behalf of both agencies. He has a specific role of business assistance and industry cluster development in the area. And he facilitates the successful location of new businesses, projects, and deals from both international and US investors locally. He leads the team that supports international trade and international connection for organizations based in LA County. Then we have Raphael PAUWELS. He's the Trade and Investment Commissioner for Flanders region. His mission is to foster economic development in both Flanders in the USA, to help business thrive, create jobs, create income. And their worldwide network of business-savvy experts support Flanders-based companies in doing business abroad, put international buyers into touch with suppliers in Flanders, and promotes the region as a strategic location for foreign firms. We have then Fati MOUTI. Fati represents the international trade and development for the Wallonia region, where she builds bridges between Wallonia and the United States. She facilitates the flow of information between Walloons companies wishing to expand internationally and US companies looking for a move to Wallonia. And then we have Eric GABRYS. Eric is the Trade and Investment Commissioner for Hot Brussels, the capital region. In his role, he helps companies and entrepreneurs in implementing their growth plan in the Western USA. He's a multilingual IT professional with a focus on creating new business through sales, business development, and product management activities. So feel free to use the Q&A function in Zoom if you have any questions for our panelists. We will address them after the presentation of Stephen and the presentations of our three trade representatives. So join me in welcoming Stephen CHEUNG.
Thank you so much, Alain. Wonderful to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation to speak to this group about Los Angeles. Today, I'm just going to spend about 10 minutes or so talking a bit about the overall LA economy and some of the trends and things that are happening prior to COVID, and now basically what we're dealing with and what the future is going to look like. So I'm going to give you a little bit of the good, bad, and ugly about Los Angeles and what the future means for Belgian companies that are looking in the future in Los Angeles, and currently how do we do business here. As a reminder, I think a lot of folks know Los Angeles already, but just to make sure that we're on the same page, LA is more than just LA City. When people think of Los Angeles, they think of Los Angeles City, the second largest city in the United States with 4 million people. However, when we're talking about Los Angeles, we're actually talking about the 88 different cities in Los Angeles, including things, cities that you know very well, like Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, Long Beach, Pasadena. Those are all different cities. So combined together with the 88 cities in the region, plus there are over 100 unincorporated regions in Los Angeles that make up Los Angeles County. That's about 10.2 million people that live in LA County alone. But when you talk about LA, it's actually the greater Los Angeles region you're talking about. So you're actually talking about 5 counties in total: Orange County, San Bernardino, Riverside, Ventura, and Los Angeles. Now we're talking about 18.7 million residents, or 18.7 million consumers for your businesses here in Los Angeles. And when we're talking about Los Angeles, you can't think of it as just like a city economy. We're really a mini nation in many ways, because our GDP for this 5 region last year was well over $1.3 trillion, making us tied with Mexico as the 15th largest economy in the world if we were a country. The size of this economy is doing so well because of the various industries that are happening here. And so for our Belgian partners who are looking to do business here, there are many, many opportunities because the geography is so big. It goes all the way from the ocean to Nevada and Arizona, from Santa Barbara down to San Diego. That's Los Angeles. And with this big population, there are a lot of different opportunities. And when people think of Los Angeles, usually they think of entertainment and Hollywood, but there's so many more things that we're working on and have been working on. People forget, for example, that Los Angeles is home to one of the largest aerospace and defense sector in the United States. We have one of the largest manufacturing center in the United States with over 350,000 manufacturing jobs. And that manufacturing capability has really supported the growth of many different industries. I was mentioning aerospace and defense, but don't forget about biosciences and now clean technology. And that's all supported because of the infrastructure that's been developed here in Los Angeles over the past century. We've invested heavily through our government and private sector partnership. And now we have, for example, the #1 and #2 container ports in North America, with the Port of LA and Port of Long Beach, controlling over 40% of all ocean-going cargo coming into the United States. Once they get here, because of the logistics that we have here, the infrastructure we have here, not only do we have access to the ocean, we also have rail infrastructure. We also have over 1.7, 1.9 billion square feet of warehouse and distribution space around the region. We have a fleet of clean trucks that are able to bring goods to and from the port very effectively. And that's why Los Angeles is also home to the #1 county, the #1 customs district in the United States, with over $400 billion in two-way trade with the rest of the world. Now, all these #1s is contributing to a lot of different activities from around the world. And one of the reasons why we're able to do so is also because we have one of the most robust airports in the world located right here. In fact, last year, LAX rose in the global ranking to become the 3rd busiest airport in the world, with over 87.5 million passengers coming to Los Angeles. With thousands of destinations that we're connected to, it makes Los Angeles a great region for international trade. And of course, when you're thinking about airport, don't forget about the air cargo that comes through LAX as well. That's about over $100 billion worth of goods coming in and out of the airport every single year. Combined together with the ports of entry, Port of LA, Port of Long Beach, and other ports of entry as well, that's why Los Angeles is the #1 customs district in the United States, bringing the international community together in Los Angeles as a major gateway to the rest of the United States. That's just basically a brief version of basically the opportunities that are there. For a lot of companies that are coming in internationally, they also see other sectors that are growing. I mentioned a little bit about the aerospace, defense, and manufacturing. But what we're also seeing is a growing sector, many growing sectors, in fact. For example, garment manufacturing is also here. Biosciences and life sciences. A lot of people forget that Los Angeles has some major advantages because of our higher education institution and our research universities that are located here. On top of it, of course, spinning off from the traditional entertainment, film and television, we have digital media entertainment that's been growing significantly here. Netflix, Hulu, Apple TV, Google, they all opened up their major office operation in Culver City, right next to Santa Monica, just in recent years. Another key aspect to think about is that Los Angeles has been sometimes criticized as being very restrictive when it comes to our environmental regulations and policies. In fact, when President Trump walked away from the Paris Climate Agreement when he took office in the first day, our mayor of Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti, alongside with Governor of California as well, both immediately stepped up to basically saying California and Los Angeles will adopt the Paris Climate Agreement locally. In fact, the mayor of Los Angeles united over 250, and now I think growing over to 400 mayors from around the nation, around the world, to basically adhere to a local guidance to make sure that we're sticking with the Paris Climate Agreement. With this aggressive climate policy, we're setting to become carbon neutral in many aspects of our operation by 2030 and 2050, depending what you're looking at. That also creates a lot of contracting opportunities for international companies to provide those solutions to the local community here. So sustainability, and especially when it comes to advanced transportation, becomes a huge opportunity here. A lot of you, when you think of Los Angeles, you also think about traffic. We have to admit, we also have one of the worst traffic conditions in the nation. However, we're not happy with it. We're not okay with it. And that's why 2 years ago, the people of Los Angeles passed a new tax measure called Measure M, which will invest over $140 billion into our transportation projects over the next 30-40 years in Los Angeles. And much of that will be spent before 2028. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But this $140 billion that we'll be spending is going to be the largest infrastructure development project in the history of the United States, spent right here in Los Angeles. We don't have the solutions for all of the good technology that will basically help us resolve some of these transportation issues. And that's why we're seeking partnership from around the world and solution from around the world to help us with advanced transportation, electric vehicle, grid infrastructure, and sustainability projects to help us basically meet these environmental and other goals as well. I also want to highlight that the aerospace and defense industry has been very strong here in Los Angeles throughout, basically since the Cold War and after. The manufacturing bases here, for example, Boeing has a very robust satellite manufacturing division here in Southern California. But the aerospace and defense sector is evolving as well. Now we're looking at space exploration. So companies like SpaceX and Virgin Galactic are right here in Los Angeles as well, now helping us basically get to the next level of space exploration. I want to also bring back a little bit in terms of the port aspect. Another key component of our industry is because of our direct access to the ocean, right? So what we're looking at right now is the ocean economy, something that we're talking about quite a lot because of environmental issues as well. As we're facing around the world sea level rise, we have to basically adapt very quickly to see how that's going to change the world in the next 10, 20, 30 years. And with that, we're doing analysis in terms of how that's going to impact our operation, because will part of our city be submerged in underwater, you know, in the next 30, 50 years. So besides that, we're also looking at the ocean as another economic driver. For example, aquaculture. Growing seaweed and kelp to be able to use for food and other products are going to be very important for this region as well. So that's another aspect. So you can see Los Angeles has a bit of everything. So it's very hard for us to be able to tell our full story. And most of the time people only talk about entertainment, which is going to be very difficult for us to overcome because it's such a powerful industry. But entertainment is only our third largest industry. We have so many other industries that are doing so well here. Now, that said, that was all before COVID, and I'm going to address COVID very shortly after I just basically mentioned the fact that we're doing so well as well is because we have the international partnership and international investment that's been coming here. A lot of people don't know, but Los Angeles is really home to one of the largest center for foreign direct investment and international trade. In fact, so much so that Los Angeles is the world's third largest consular corps. All these nations, including Belgium, have invested their government structure and infrastructure here because of the population here, because of the business opportunity that's located here. I'm going to quickly share with you a report that we've done recently. It's our foreign direct investment report that we conduct every year. And this year we have decided to conduct this not only for Southern California, but for all of California, so people can see the impact of foreign direct investment, foreign direct investment to California, the 5th largest economy in the world. And we can't do this alone. That's why we're so welcoming of international investments. And we want to thank Belgium in particular, because in relations, there are many countries that are already located here. For example, the Concert Corps, as I was mentioning, have over 100 countries represented here. And Belgium, well, the international community has invested so much that we have over 18,000 foreign-owned establishments in California total, creating over 730,000 direct jobs. And every year they contribute over $65 billion in wages to our local economy. So for some of the folks who've been talking about more of a nationalistic stance and that international trade is killing jobs, I beg to differ, because we have the fact and the number to prove that is not correct. Because as you can see here, there are over 730,000 jobs directly supported by foreign companies that are located here. In particular, I'm going to go down to Belgium, the 24th largest foreign direct investor here in Southern California, with over 93 firms and creating over 5,000 jobs here locally. So on behalf of the people of Los Angeles and California, thank you for your investment and thank you for your partnership. And I also want to highlight the breakdown as well. As you can see, throughout California, you can see the breakdown of your 93 firms that are here. Most of them are located, with 65 located right here in Southern California. And you can see a majority of them are here in Southern Los Angeles County in particular. So there's a huge concentration of companies from Belgium already here doing very, very well. So we want to basically continue to attract more and basically facilitate that conversation and help any Belgian companies coming in here. Now, really quickly, I just want to finish up by talking about the current situation. Obviously, since March 19th, the Los Angeles County government has recommended that we limit operation in terms of being able to do business. And since then, we've seen a huge increase in unemployment rates. For example, over the last few months, we've seen over 1.2 million unemployment claims in Los Angeles County alone. And with a workforce of only 4 million people, we're now seeing the upwards of 23 to 30% unemployment rates. That has impacted, obviously, port operations as well as airport operation. In fact, I was boasting that we have 87 million passengers coming through Los Angeles last year. However, that number is going to drop significantly. The airport has reported that they've seen a 90 to 93% decrease in their volume in just the last few months, which you can see is also impacting our hotel industry, our entertainment industries, whether it's Disneyland or whether it's the Harry Potter ride over in Universal Studios. People are not able to go, and that number is going to continue to drop, which is affecting our restaurants. So our economy is going to see a downturn. But as we're looking in the future, we're seeing that there's going to be a path to recovery. And we're using this opportunity not only for recovery, but we're looking at opportunities to reimagine Los Angeles. And I was mentioning earlier about 2028. One of the things that we want to reimagine Los Angeles is to get ready for the next Olympic Games in Los Angeles. Los Angeles will be hosting the Olympic Games in 2028. And it's one of the very few cities in the world that can say that we're going to be able to host the Olympic Games for the 3rd time. And the LA 84 Olympics was the last modern Olympics that was ever profitable. So we know how to make money off of this because we don't have to build a lot of infrastructure, and we can basically really utilize our existing infrastructure to really help with our economy. What we need, however, are the additional technologies that will be able to help us get to the next level. If you look back, the last Olympic that we had here in the United States was Salt Lake City in the early 2000s. Back then, there's no such thing as Twitter or Facebook. So you can imagine by the time 2028 comes around, you're going to have a lot of new technology that's going to be required, whether it's cybersecurity, facial recognition, crowd control, 5G technology, and all sorts of technology will be necessary. And that's why the growth of Silicon Beach in Southern California here is so important, because we have an influx of tech sector growing very, very strongly, supporting that network. So I can go on for days, as you can imagine, but I'll stop here so that we can leave some time for Q&A. But I just want to use this opportunity to say that Los Angeles is continuing to be open for business, and we are eager to continue to partner with Belgium and our international partners to make sure that together we're going to recover. We're going to be able to not only reinvent, but also reimagine what Los Angeles would look like. So at that, I'll pass it back to Alain.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Very interesting presentation of the area, and that's great because we see that also from people coming and that are recent in the area. They have most of the time a very incomplete version of what is it actually this area economically and the real activity that is behind. So yeah, if you have any questions for our panelists and for Stephen particularly, please feel free to ask it through the chat. So I already have a first question here. The question from a question from Guillaume. Relative to the direct flights possible in between LAX and Brussels, is there any project that you might be aware in the future?
No, not immediately. Prior to this, LAX and our friends over at the LA Tourism Convention Bureau have been working very hard to increase connectivity for LAX with the rest of the world. So there are obviously always kind of discussions about these additional capacity, but it's really up to the airlines to basically determine whether there's that need. Currently, I think, for example, speaking of kind of our European partners as well, there are other airlines like Aer Lingus that has been basically increasing direct connection between Los Angeles and Ireland, and through that, then basically they'll get connected to Belgium. But I don't know of any direct talks about increasing the capacity directly to Belgium. A lot of them actually go through either Heathrow in London or they go through Charles de Gaulle over in Paris. But for us in Los Angeles, we would love that because we've actually done the research before. Every daily nonstop direct flights creates hundreds of millions of dollars annually for both regions. So it's a great economic driver because you're not only talking about the passengers that go back and forth, but also the air cargo that goes underneath the plane. So if there are enough folks that want to go back and forth, that will really help. But first, we have to basically stop the COVID-19 spread here in Los Angeles and in the United States, so that our European partners are not banning us from visiting the European and our partners over there, because we would very much like to start traveling again.
Thanks for your answer. I do have also another question relative to the office space and the right price evolution in link with the transformation of companies now more digital and because of the COVID. How do you see that evolve in the coming months or next year?
So sorry, can I clarify that again? The question is just basically about the transition to digital. Is there, or is there, okay.
So how that will affect the office space availability and run price?
Yeah, that's a big question that we're dealing with right now. We've been working with some of our partners and friends over in the real estate industry, and we've been getting some updates from our friends over at CBRE, for example, and Jocelyn LaSalle, getting some reports. So initially, there's going to be a huge change because now we understand that you can actually work remotely pretty efficiently for certain industries. Obviously, the in-person, the transactional, especially the ones like grocery stores and food services, you still need that in person. But for a lot of office jobs and a certain type of industries, you can now do more remote working. So that's going to impact the demand for office space, especially not knowing whether in the United States we'll be going back to the office anytime soon. However, there's been a lot of research that's been done recently in terms of employee kind of desires in the future. And a lot of them actually still want accessibility to the office, because what you see is the office environment still creates an environment of collaboration, and that these Zoom calls and these Teams calls are wonderful, but it doesn't substitute that in person. So there's still going to be a desire. However, the projection is that there might be decrease in demand for the need for every day going back into the office and that flexibility. But in the long run, you're going to still see a mixture. So I think a lot of companies now have to look at the long-term real estate plan in terms of exactly what is the operation. And some of our larger tech companies like Twitter and Facebook and Google are exploring, you know, basically not having people come back at all and for the next year. So I think that's going to set the trend. This is an evolving situation, and I think it's going to be very challenging for anybody to really predict.
Yeah, very interesting. We have also another question relative to the incentive that small and medium companies would have to establish themselves in the area. I mean, in the LA County or in the Los Angeles area.
Yes. So there are a number of different things. So the state of California has created a number of different incentives, including the California Competes tax credit, right? And also local jurisdictions have also created a lot of different incentives as well. In particular, I want to address the fact that because of COVID-19, we realize a lot of the small, medium-sized firms are really hurting. Just for reference, a lot of people don't know this, but about 93% of all LA County companies have under 20 employees. In fact, 87% of all LA businesses are under 9 employees, what we call micro enterprises. So most of our companies here, a super majority of them, are really small companies. So a lot of the local jurisdiction, a lot of the local cities I was talking about, the 88 different cities, are creating these micro grants and small grants of $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. And these are not loans, these are direct grants to basically help people survive this period. So if you live in a certain city, I would suggest going on the city website to immediately start targeting those micro grant opportunities. LAEDC, we actually created something called a community connector, specifically focusing on small and medium-sized firms, more targeting micro enterprises really, to provide them with access to this information about the evolving kind of grants that are happening. So if you go to our LAEDC.org website and look for coronavirus response, then basically at that point you'll see all the resources that are necessary. And there are a lot of other of our partners that are also providing this information as well. So we'll be happy to guide you through that process.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for your insights. And we are gonna now switch to Raphael because I see that the timing is advancing now. So Raphael, thank you.
Hi, Alain, thank you. And thank you, Stephen, for that excellent presentation. You put the bar really high, and that makes it harder for the people who have to speak after you. But I'll do my best, and I'll do my best to stay within that 10-minute allocated time. So if I will rush through some slides, people can always go back to it. I think the Belgian Business Club is going to post a recording of this webinar, so people will be able to go back to it if I run fast through my slides. Now let me try and share that presentation with you. It should come up now, but it may take a few seconds, I'm afraid. Yep, there we are. I hope you can see it if I just put it in presentation mode now. All right, thank you. So I'd like to come back to the figures that Stephen already mentioned. They clearly show that an idea that some people in Belgium have about California is clearly wrong. Very often there's this misconception that Silicon Valley equals the California economy and that the California economy equals Silicon Valley. The figures have shown that that is not the case. The center of gravity is not Silicon Valley. The center of gravity of California's economy is clearly around Southern California, say from Santa Barbara over Los Angeles down to San Diego. And second misconception, and again, Stephen already mentioned it partly, is that people associate Los Angeles very often just with the entertainment industry, the big movie studios, etc. And they don't realize that there's a lot of entrepreneurship, innovation, and high tech going on here as well. Stephen already mentioned SpaceX, the rocket builder owned by Elon Musk. But just earlier today, there was, and you probably all have heard about it or have been reading about it, the launch of the new Mars rover to Mars, of course. That rover is produced by the Jet Propulsion Laboratory here in Pasadena, right next to Los Angeles. So that's another example of high tech here from Southern California, from LA. And in terms of innovation in a wholly different domain in the food sector, there is, for instance, a company like Beyond Meat, also based here in LA. They are the ones who have been developing, promoting, expanding the concept of meatless meat. Just another example of what is happening, what is going on here, and why it is interesting and exciting to be here. Now, let me go on to, sorry, that was too far, just a short introduction about Flanders Investment and Trade, the organization that I work for, an agency of the government of Flanders, the northern region of Belgium. As you can see, we're in between the Netherlands and Germany and France and the UK, so we're really in the heart of Europe. Flanders counts about 58% of total Belgian population, and it stands for around 80% of total Belgian imports and exports of goods. Second word in our title or in our name is investments, because we help foreign companies that want to set up in Europe, and then we try to convince them to go to Belgium and preferably to Flanders, in my case. My colleagues may have different opinions on that. And then the third word in our title, in our name, is trade. Of course, we help Flanders-based companies in their exports worldwide. I will come to a few examples of successful Flemish Belgian companies here in LA and around LA, but I thought that it might also be interesting to just give you some indications about how to set up for success in LA, in Southern California, in California as a whole, in the USA. So, for instance, where in the USA should we start? I think this map is something to really consider and think about very well. Just one look at it will make it clear to you that it's not like, I'm gonna start in the USA with a small office and I'll be immediately able to conquer the whole USA just by the sheer size of this country. You need to think twice about how to set up, where to set up, etc., etc., etc. Another way of looking at it is this map where you see the different states of the United States renamed for the countries that have a more or less similar GDP. You will see that California here in the left corner is more or less equal to the economy of the United Kingdom. In fact, it's even larger than the United Kingdom. California is the 5th largest economy in the world if you consider it just by itself, apart from all the rest of the USA. And if you look in the top, whoops, sorry, I was too far there. If you look at the top corner of this map, you will see Belgium mentioned. Belgium's economy more or less equals the economy of Washington State. One more way of looking or thinking about where to start is to look at where the households are that have the most wealth. And then, of course, New York City is number 1, Los Angeles is number 2, Chicago is number 3, Washington, D.C. is number 4, and you have all the others, the main ones in this map as well. Like I said earlier, you can come back to this map later when it has been published by the Belgian Business Club. And one more look at the figures in terms of the metropolitan areas and their real GDP. Again, New York area is the biggest, and Los Angeles, Long Beach, Anaheim is clearly number 2, Chicago number 3, etc. Now let me come to the part about which products can we sell, and I'll just stick to some basic facts or basic insights. US consumer market is flooded with commodity products, so don't come with that. You really need unique and truly innovative products to come here. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is the importance of adjusting your products to the US market. For instance, in terms of voltage, you need to think about the certificates that are needed. You need to think about technical information that has to be adapted. You need to go from all your technical documents and manuals, etc. Need to go from centimeters to inches. They need to go from kilograms to pounds, and so on and so on. So if you have a large portfolio of products in your company, then it may be hard to do all of that for all of them. it may be wiser to make a selection in your first approach of the US market. Some companies can conquer the USA from the comfort of their seat in Belgium if they don't have too many clients, if they are mostly in B2B, or if they have found a way of doing everything online, etc. But for most companies, it will not be that easy to just sit back in their seat in Belgium and try to conquer the USA. US is open to new products. It will give you a chance to sell your products, but you will hit your ceiling fast if you don't feel the market, if you don't adjust to the specific needs here. Because it's easy to sell once, it's much harder to create recurrent sales. So you need some presence, be it an agent or a distributor or a subsidiary, just to be in touch with the market, one. And two, also because a US address creates trust. And what you also need to know is that customer service is immensely important here in the USA, much more than it is in Europe, I believe, although I've been gone from Europe now for quite a while. But still, you can see that when you look at a no questions asked return policy at many big and small companies. For instance, you can buy hiking boots. You can try them out for 3-4 weeks. You can do 2, 3, 4 hikes with them. And then you can go back to the shop and say, hey, I tried them, but they're not really adjusting to my feet, or my feet are not really adjusting to these boots. So can you take them back? And the company will take them back, and you will get the credit to buy another pair and try that. So that is, that's another way of thinking than we have in Belgium, I think. Which price setting for your products? I'm going to be honest with you, this is not something that I invented. This is something that I borrowed from a Flemish company that is present here in the USA, here in Southern California, here in Los Angeles. For the sake of my allocated time, I will quickly run through it and just go to the bottom price. How to set your price? You take your European price, you take the exchange rate with a big margin. Instead of 117 as it is today, count for instance 127 euro US dollar. You do times 1.05 for duties and tariffs, etc. And you add a markup for selling your products here in the USA. And that is how you might define your US dollar price. It is one example of one company, but it is something that can help you reflect on how to enter or how to expand here in the USA market. Some other elements to keep in mind is that your marketing budget in the USA needs to be much higher than it is in Europe in terms of percentage of revenue. I think here in the USA, it is not uncommon that the marketing budget is about up to 15% of revenue. I think in Europe it is more something like between 5 and 7, maybe 8. Another element is that checks still reign. In a survey about 2 years ago, it showed that of all B2B payments, 64% were still made with checks. We can hardly understand that if we only have European perspectives where checks have almost completely disappeared, but here they are still very much en vogue. And you also need to think about the fact that taxes differ from state to state. Keep in mind that you can, that your tax seat does not have to be the same as where your operational activities are located. For instance, you can create a Delaware company, but have your operations in Los Angeles. Some successful companies and entrepreneurs from Flanders in Southern California. There is, for instance, Soundcode, part of the Flemish Recticel group. You may ask yourself why you see a Tesla in here. Basically, this is, well, in fact, this is a Tesla that Elon Musk of SpaceX put into one of his rockets that he launched. I think this one was about 2 or 3 years ago, where he sent one of his Teslas into space. And Soundcode, the Flemish, well, the granddaughter of, no, the daughter of the Flemish Recticel group, supplies all the insulation, not all the insulation, but supplies quite some insulation material to Elon Musk's SpaceX. Another one, Septentrio, a spin-off of IMEC, a large nanotechnology research institute in Belgium, in Flanders. They design and manufacture highly accurate GPS receivers. They're located in Torrance here. This one may seem weird to Americans to see and hear me tell them that this is Belgium, that this is Flemish, but basically it is, because Budweiser and the Anheuser-Busch company are part of the AB InBev group, which has its official headquarters and seat in Leuven, in Flanders, in Belgium. Now, it's not only the large corporates that are present here in LA and Southern California and the rest of the USA, and it's not only the large corporates that make up the success of an economy. Stephen already mentioned that, if I wrote it down right, 87% in LA, 87% of companies are below 9 employees. That is something, of course, that is absolutely true. That is the strength of many an economy. That is the same. SMEs are the backbone of the Flemish economy as well. And there are a number of successful entrepreneurs who work here in LA, coming from Flanders, but working here in LA and doing equally impressive things and achieve success. One is Eddie Kerkhoff's chef from Flanders, moved to LA a long time ago, is co-owner of Il Piccolino, a fine dining place in West Hollywood, where many, many of the stars of the entertainment industry come by. I kind of like this one as well, very especially. The company is called West Coast Spiegel Tents, and what they do is they rent out real vintage mirror tents from Flanders. This is what it looks like from the outside. This is what it looks like from the inside. And this is what it looks like when it's full of people. A gorgeous thing. A very, how would I say, very, very simple idea, you might call it, but successful and creative and innovative and real entrepreneur spirit. These guys, I had to mention them as well, of course. That is Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah, the directors of Bad Boys #3. Adil and Bilal are the two people on the right of this 6-person group there. So they were the directors of Bad Boys for Life, and they will most probably also be directing Bad Boys #4, because #3 has been so successful. They don't have a company in LA, I think, but I'm sure they do have an agent in LA. There's a number of others that I've listed here, but there are way too many to go through all of them. Caviar Content, TV and film production is successful. Duvel Moordgat, another Flemish brewery, has acquired Firestone Walker. Plastiflex is here. Proximus is one that I want to highlight as well, even though Proximus is a Brussels-based company. I hope my colleague Eric doesn't mind me mentioning them. I consider them our national telecom operator, so that's why I integrated them here as well. Proximus acquired Telesign, very interesting company, in, I would call it, online transaction authentication. Maybe they will correct me because it's not completely adequate, but that's how I understood it. And there are many others very interesting and very entrepreneurial people. There's someone having a winery here. There's someone having an interior design gallery, and so on and so on. There's, again, Eric, I'm coming into your territory. There's Brussels Bistro, with 2 locations here in Southern California. So you can have a look at all the others afterwards, I think. Just one last thing to conclude, to also fulfill my duty as an investment commissioner for Flanders. To the American people in the audience, I want to point out a few large investors from Southern California in Flanders. And then from around LA, there is Avery Dennison from Glendale, very large one in specialty chemicals. They have about 2,000 employees in Belgium. Public Storage, also very well known here. They are a 30% owner of SureGuard that was spun off from their operations. And SureGuard is in self-storage and is listed on the Brussels stock market. Amgen in biotech, Advanced Life Sciences in medical tech, Ingram Micro in distribution of electronics. AECOM, one of the world's largest engineering and contracting companies. The Wonderful Company, a giant in vegetables and fruits. Dole Foods, similar, Mattel, Barbie, and so many other toys, and so on and so on. And then from elsewhere in the US, I wanted to highlight Nike from Oregon, having 4,000 employees in their European distribution center in Flanders. Packard from Washington State, having about 2,000 employees in their DAF trucks factory in Flanders. Robert Half from Northern California, having about 3,000 employees in Belgium. Hewlett Packard from Northern California as well. There's Johnson & Johnson with 5,000 employees in Flanders. There's Pfizer, another pharmaceutical company with 2,300 employees in Flanders. There's IBM, and there's many, many, many more. So with that, I came to the end of my presentation. I hope I didn't run out of my allocated time too much. Here's my contacts, and I only want to say thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Raphael. Now it's time for Fati from the Wallonia region.
I will first say that I'm happy to be among you today, and will thank Alain and Jean-Baptiste for inviting me to present the Walloon Export and Foreign Investment Agency services that are provided to both supporting exports and promoting foreign investments. As a foreign trade agency, PAUWELS carries out a mission of promotion and information for the benefit of both Wallonia and the foreign business community. We are based in USA, and count 5 offices in Washington, San Francisco, New York, Houston, and Chicago. These are the permanent representatives of the French-speaking part of Belgium, Wallonia, and we are divided by sector of activities. This is not exhaustive, but for example, Washington takes care of international institutions, logistics, transport, and so on. New York takes care of food, pharmacy, biotech, and finance. Houston takes care of oil, gas, and electricity energies and constructions. And Chicago takes care of food, medical devices, and automobile and clean tech, and so on. So our mission is to strengthen the economic trade and investment that ties between Wallonia and USA. In San Francisco, we are a team of 3 people. So Baudouin Diamtine, who is the trade and investment counselor. He has a very strong partnership with a lot of investors and partners and regions. He also has a very valuable experience in the Bay Area, and will be happy to help any CEO and any person who is eager to succeed in the Bay Area. We cover 11 states, and the sectors we are in charge of are ICT, clean tech, advanced material, and media and broadcast. So upon request, PAUWELS assists buyers, decision makers, importers, and foreign prospects by providing economic data and Wallonia and its export potential, disseminating information on products and services from companies located in Wallonia, identifying companies in Wallonia for international partnership, and distributing lists of exporters from Wallonia. As an export partner for Wallonia-based companies, PAUWELS offers a wide range of export-oriented services and activities. We provide general and commercial information on foreign markets, market studies tailored to specific area upon request. We also are in charge of organization and planning of marketing activities like international trade shows, economic missions, sector-based contract days, and so on. We do establish contact with international organizations. We do promote Wallonia's export potential abroad, and we do provide very interesting packages, financial support and export financing. And this englobes a lot of packages, really interesting. I would gladly share with you. You can write to me. I'll provide you further with my email and contact, so I can provide you with all the information needed regarding the financial support. We also work on the training in international careers. So it can be immersion language, it can be training for the interns. We have a lot of packages regarding the training sessions. On a collective basis, we organize missions, trade fairs, conferences, exhibitions, very, very important ones, again, in the Bay Area and in different states. As an example, I can talk about CES, NAB Show, GDC, Journée de la Francophonie, BIO, South by Southwest, and so on. As a foreign investment agency, AUX has an overall responsibility for the attraction of foreign investment to Wallonia. This includes seeking out and providing information to potential foreign investors. The agency also offers a proactive follow-up service to investors already established in Wallonia. In addition, it is in charge of identifying new foreign investors for the acquisition of industrial sites and the restructuring. So about San Francisco, this office was created in 1994. So as I said, very valuable experience. We will gladly be happy to offer to all the CEOs that are eager to succeed in the Bay Area. We seek to promote trade between the United States and Belgium. We specialize in the sectors of information technology, electronics, telecommunications, multimedia, audiovisual effects, cinema, aeronautics, aerospace, dietary, supplements, and cosmetics. And this office represents the western states of Alaska, Arizona, California, Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Oregon, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. So about the success story, I want to mention today, actually we did support a lot of companies throughout the years, and we are very proud of ending up seeing a bunch of them becoming success stories we can tell about, as in today. But the one that we are most interested in presenting today is a very special one, since it englobes a lot of aspects at the same time. The company I'm talking about today is Bloom Life. It's a company created in 2014 by a Belgian founder and an American co-founder. It is officially an FDI since the company is created in the USA, but it has a Belgian DNA. Since the founder is Belgian from Wallonia and came from a very prestigious research center in Belgium called INEC, they are specialized in biomedical and work on an incredible product helping women monitoring their pregnancy by delivering an unprecedented insight into their health. Of course, they encountered a lot of constraints and challenging moments, the last one being this pandemic we're going through. That suspended the fundraising process they were going through, but they still managed to succeed and made their last funding raise this last June from a Series A rounds. So we have accompanied Bloom Life since the beginning, helping them find active investors, and through their success, we created synergies between Wallonia and USA. As the Belgian authorities understood that sometimes investing in USA companies can be as valuable as investing in a Belgian company. We are now discussing the possibility of establishing a head office in Wallonia for Bloom Life, which creates Wallonia, for Wallonia a strong ecosystem for biomedical sector. And I know that I already received some emails, some messages on LinkedIn from some CEOs. I'll be answering them by the end of this week. And I'll be happy to answer some more questions if you have questions to ask me.
Thanks very much, Fati. We will try to regroup the question after the presentations. So now that's your turn, Eric.
Yeah, hello everybody. Thank you very much again, Alain and Jean-Baptiste, for organizing this call. I'm very excited to be with you, even if I can't be in California right now because of COVID and my flight was canceled. So I'm calling in from Belgium as we speak now. Okay, let me share the screen with you. So indeed, I'm the representative of the Brussels region here in California. Actually, my organization is now called Brussels. This is actually the result of a merge between 3 organizations in Brussels, Atrium Impulse and Brussels Invest Export. I was actually working prior to Brussels at Brussels Invest and Export. That gives you some background about my history. Unlike my colleagues, I think something unique about Brussels is that obviously we help companies from Brussels to internationalize. But in addition to that, we are a one-stop shop for entrepreneurs and founders when they start the company, when they grow. We have even the tools to help them find the right site in Brussels, and that works both for local entrepreneurs and foreigners. So we do much more than that. We are a government-backed agency, obviously, and we have over 300 people. So that gives you an idea of the scope of our activities. Something very unique in our portfolio is the 1819, which is a phone number originally, but no, it's a digital platform where all entrepreneurs can find answers to the question. And if you can't find it on that platform, you can ask the question. It's a fantastic tool, which has been very popular, especially during the COVID time. We have received 10 times more calls than on the average the last few months.
Eric, are you still around?
So that's about yeah, can you hear me?
There was a few seconds freeze, but you're back.
Okay, cool. Yeah, here we go. Are we good? So a few words about the office that I set up in San Francisco in April 2012. So prior to COVID, we had visiting companies every 2 weeks, and you know, over the 8 years I've been running the office, we got over 800 companies that we provided support to. You know, I've been long enough, so we have a lot of contacts, and I must thank all, you know, maybe some people who joined the call can testify that all the subject matter experts and the market entry advisors that we regularly use to help our entrepreneurs succeed in the US. Something also very unique in our organization is the what we call the event Connecting Brussels with Silicon Valley that is run every year during the TechCrunch Disrupt. And I will address that a little later because it's going to be a big event in a month from now. Also, we organized, you know, the Prince mission, and it was not yet mentioned. So maybe for the ones of you who don't know it yet, the next mission in the US will take place next year. It's going to be on the East Coast, but I'm sure that some companies will take advantage of that to come to the West Coast. Yeah, well, you know my territory. I wish I had more companies coming to Hawaii, but and Alaska. But yeah, most of the companies we work, and that's going to please Steve, and I'm sure, are actually looking for a landing spot either in San Francisco or in LA. So these are the 2 prime destinations. I would mention also New York if you want to, you know, to address some specific verticals like the food and drink industry. When you come over from Europe, typically the landing spot would be New York. So these are the 3 locations. I know that there are many more metropolitan, and we have requests for other locations, but these are the 3 main ones that we usually address. Yeah, so I put some figures just to maybe have some kind of debate during the Q&A session. It's obvious that you know, LA and San Francisco are really nice destinations because of the business opportunities. Stephen mentioned that if California was a country, it would be the 5th economy in the world. So yeah, it's definitely a great opportunity. But at the same time, it comes with a cost, especially the last 8 years. Actually, I came in probably in the right time, but I saw a dramatic increase in the rent. I'm just talking about our office. The rent since I joined actually double. I put some figures here. You know, fortunately for you guys, LA is a bit cheaper, but if you compare to Brussels, it's still very expensive. And for entrepreneurs coming over to the US, sometimes it comes with a charge. And yeah, you should be prepared to that kind of cost. And I put also the average cost for offices. So that gives you an idea also. And again, Los Angeles, it's probably good on this stage. But if you compare yourself with San Francisco, it's definitely you have a deal and definitely a competitive advantage over there. And for entrepreneurs, especially founders of startups where cash is king, it's critical to have a clear idea of what the costs are involved when you land in the US. But it would be hard not to mention the fact that you can get access by being based in the US to the local venture capital industry. And that's really important. Sometimes we forget to mention that because we take it for granted, but 50% of the VC investment is done in, guess where, in California. And 3/4 of that, I'm sorry to say that to LA, but it's for San Francisco, Silicon Valley and San Francisco get a majority of that. So we are way above any other metropolitan in the US when it comes to this investment. And if you want to get, this investment, not only because of the money, but also because it comes with smart money. So, with advisors that will help you grow in the States, that's definitely an advantage. A few words about the cultural differences, because, we had a lot of artifacts in the previous presentation. So I'd like to touch a little bit on that. I think usually we think that we know the US, because we watch the movie, the Hollywood industry and things like that. But when we arrive up there, we definitely see a lot of differences. And I'm going to mention a few that is typical, like most of the mistakes that founders face when they come over to the US is with their first hire. Because they are always impressed. They look at a great CV, they have a great interview, and they think, oh, that's the right guy. And usually that's the biggest mistake because they haven't done their proper due diligence and background check and, checking with the previous employers. Because, Americans, we are great salespeople. So we managed to get the attention, and we managed to convince our future employer that we are the best recruit. And that's a challenge for most companies when they are not used to that. Also customers, the loyalty of customers is very different in the US. Just to put it in perspective, I usually mention that, the average customer in the US would brag about the latest restaurants they've been to and the new fancy toy that they bought. While in Europe, we like to brag about, the restaurants where we are regular. So sometimes it's very surprising when you start something, you see, like a good start and then boom, nothing as is, like some of the speakers mentioned, and is happening because, the customers leave very quickly here. I believe you addressed in the previous presentation the visa issue. I think it's important, but you had a dedicated webinar on that, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I think it's important. Most entrepreneurs come with an E2 visa, as you probably know, and sometimes it comes with some challenges. I remember two brothers who came, who wanted to come with this visa. One of them had already a green card, and because of that, it was not recognized as a Belgian entity, and therefore the company they owned together couldn't be used to support the E2 visa request. As I mentioned, it's a great market, but still very diversified. It's funny because I can compare actually on one of the missions we organized for the fashion and design industry. We went both to LA and San Francisco the same week, and with the same companies. And it's amazing how different the feedback from potential buyers were in these two cities. And I'm just talking about two different cities in the same state, just because the weather is different, the people, and the difference of culture makes the purchase decision different in these two cities. And also something not to underestimate are the local regulation. We touched a little bit on that, but don't forget that, we have a state, we have also the local regulation, and with the COVID, we understood also the importance of all the different countries. We have 58 countries, it's all different regulation, all with different sales taxes, and people sometimes underestimate the complexity of that from a European perspective. Talking about some success stories, you have a few of them here. I'm happy to say that we have a few in LA, a few in San Francisco, and as I say, these are the two main landing spots for our companies. Maybe I should talk about the last comer, Aptrick. These guys do ASO, so application search optimization. And it's similar to SEO, but for apps, because you have millions of apps. You know, sometimes you are confused if you want to find the best app to rate a restaurant, and these guys will help developers to be on top of these listings. An interesting one as well, it was mentioned from my colleague Raphael, is actually Proximus. It's actually the subsidiary of Proximus, BICS. They purchased Telesign, which was at the time, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the largest investment ever done by a Belgian company based in Brussels in California. So that was over 200 million, if I recall correctly, 2 years ago. And we have many more. You mentioned sustainability as being a key point in the ecosystem of LA. A2M is one of the companies that we support, and I know they have a project on the West Coast. I can't talk about that, but it's one of our leading architecture firm, and they developed passive buildings, and we organize a few missions for these guys as well. Numica is also very interesting, as they developed tools, software to optimize the flow of water or air around devices like about hull, for instance. So they are all PhD, and they are growing fast as well. Yeah, so I'd like to conclude my presentation with you know, the next big thing for us, which is going to be the Disrupt event that's going to be hosted virtually for the first time on September 14 and 18, and that's a great opportunity if you want to, you know, try your ability to have a good market fit in the market and demonstrate your new software solution for companies here in the US. That's a perfect event, and it's virtual, as I say, so you can do it from Belgium, Brussels, and we can host up to 20 startups. So if you are listening from Belgium, or if you have a company based in Brussels and you want to take part of that, just give me a call after this, and I would be happy to include you. That's it for me, and yeah, thank you very much. If you have any question, I'm ready to take it together with my colleague.
Thank you very much, Raphael, Fati, and Eric. The first question that I have here was a general question relative to learning expeditions. What's the interest? What can we take from that kind of you know, trip? So I don't know who wants to answer that question.
I can say a few words about that, if you don't mind.
Eric, go ahead. Go ahead.
We have a. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I should have raised my hand, maybe.
No problem.
We are actually organized a mission called Connecting Brussels with Silicon Valley. So we have a booth, as I mentioned, at Disrupt, but before that, it was actually a full immersion program, which included meetings with potential customers, obviously, for the companies, but we had also a pitch event. So that's typically an event where we invite potential investors to provide feedback to companies pitching the audience, and so that they can, you know, validate their product market fit and also see if there is a potential for them to raise smart money here in the US. So yeah, the answer is yes, we had that, and we still do it, but obviously doing it in a virtual way might be a challenge for the coming years. So it's going to be mostly virtual at this stage.
Very interesting. Thanks, Eric. Raphael?
Well, not so much to add to that. I think for us, for Flanders, it will be the same. We did many missions in the past. We were planning many more in coming months and years. But as Eric said, it will now be mostly virtual. And we still need to figure out how to, or we are figuring out how to exactly handle that. There's a few conferences coming up. Not so much to this part of the USA right now. There have been some initiatives on the East Coast, and there have been initiatives on many other, in many other parts of the world, many other countries. So we try to cope with the situation and make the best of it. But organizing trade missions, be it real, live, or digital, is one of the core elements of what we do. Like providing subsidies for companies that want to export, like doing research, etc., etc.
Okay, excellent. Fati, a word on that?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, since it's been just a year that I joined the AUX, I am aware of this. For the NAB that unfortunately got cancelled, we had a pitch day that was organized with a very strong partner of ours, but unfortunately, since it got cancelled, we didn't get to make it. So this is one of the initiatives regarding the learning expeditions.
Okay, great. I think because we have already exceeded our time, we are going to wrap up for today. I just want to remember a few things about the business club, as we want to be a source of information and a place to share it, a place of networking, of links with the communities, and also a link in between California and Belgium. So how to participate, that's simple. Bring your topics. We'll find experts to talk about it and to help you. Be a panelist, share your knowledge with the community, and also engage, help create and organize our events. And those events obviously are online for the time being. So before wrapping up this session, I would like first to thank our audience of today joining us from all over the US and Belgium. Thank you, Stephen, Raphael, Fati, Eric, for your expertise and insights and taking the time to share it with us. That was a great session. In this time of uncertainty, the Business Club wants to offer you the tools and insight to develop your business in our beautiful city. As said by Stephen in this keynote, we can be proud of the position of Belgium and the importance of our country in the Los Angeles County. Do not hesitate to reach out to us if you need to be introduced with key business people in the region. We have the chance to be connected with big corporations, startups, incubators, investors, and a lot of professionals in different areas of immigration, tax, and more. Our mission is to help you ramp up your project and to contribute making your business journey successful. We'll be back soon with another event, and today's webinar will be available for replay soon. You will get an email from us with the presentation. So stay tuned for our next events and do not hesitate to reach on social media or by email. Looking forward to see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.